Empathy is something that we will all encounter in our lives. Whether it's empathy towards others or showing empathy to ourselves, it's something that we can always work on and always strive to improve. So today we'll be talking about tips and tricks for fostering empathy. My name is Maria Hamill, and I am the Learning Programs Coordinator here at Veterans Upward Bound. If you have any questions, concerns, or want to talk about workshops, please feel free to shoot me an email, which is on the screen. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about empathy. We're first going to talk about what is empathy, why it is important, then move on into tips for fostering empathy and some different resources. So first up, what is empathy? According to verywellmind.com, empathy is the ability to emotionally understand what other people feel, see things from their point of view, and imagine yourself in their place. Essentially, it is putting yourself in someone else's position and feeling what they are feeling. So why is empathy so important? As you may know, we currently live in a world that is very divided in many aspects. Therefore, we can all benefit from some kind of some kindness and empathy toward one another and ourselves. So empathy is important because it helps us understand how ourselves and others are feeling, helps us maintain and grow relationships, and can lead to a positive outlook on many different kinds of situations. There's many different uses for empathy. First one is building connections with others. By understanding what other people are feeling and thinking, we're able to respond appropriately in different types of social situations. And research shows that having social connections is important for both physical and psychological well-being. So in all, empathy is just really good for the overall body, mind, and spirit. Another use for empathy is regulation of your own emotions. Emotional regulation is important in that it allows us to manage what we are feeling, even in times of great stress, without becoming overwhelmed. Others are not responsible for how we manage our emotions, so it's a great skill to regulate it ourselves. Lastly, another use for empathy is being able to help others. We are not only more likely to engage in helpful behaviors when you feel empathy for other people, but other people also are more likely to help you when they are experiencing empathy. So it really works both ways, which is great. All right, next up, we're going to move into some tips for fostering empathy. We have being willing to do the work, and I'll explain what that means, exposure to differences, and understanding how you feel. Be willing to do the work. So just like learning a new skill, you must practice to become better at empathy. Empathy is not a skill that often comes natural to a human being, and is something you need to work on and being willing to put in the work to do so. So some tips to learning to foster empathy and being willing to do the work are listening to people without interrupting. This shows that you value what the other person is saying and you're willing to take time to listen to them and listen to their point of view. Paying attention to body language and other types of nonverbal communication is also important. If someone's body language is showing you that they're open for communication, so maybe that looks like their body is facing towards you, they have great eye contact, it's important to pay attention to that so that you know that maybe this is a great time to foster empathy. And lastly, asking people questions to learn more about them and their lives. People love to share their stories and help others out with their stories, so asking someone questions about them to learn more about their world is really great for fostering empathy. Next up is exposure to differences. It can be easy and comfortable to stick with topics and ideas that we know and agree with, but once we expose ourselves to differences, this is where you begin to learn. I start this off with this tip is not an easy one. It takes time and practice to be able to open up ourselves to listen to other points of view that maybe we don't agree with even. However, by doing so, we may learn not only something new from someone else, but also about ourselves. So for some tips on this particular point, try to understand people even when you don't agree with them. So listening to their point of view, that can open you up to a wider view and wider range of opinions maybe. Imagine yourself in another person's shoes. Seek to identify biases that you may have and how they affect your empathy towards others or for others. So maybe you have some biases that you're, maybe not aware of, and that's okay. But try to seek someone else's point of view and think about any biases that you may have about that situation. Look for ways in which you are similar to others versus focusing on differences. So I'm not sure about you, but I know it seems to be that in the news or media, a lot of people are always looking for ways to see how someone else is different from them. But as a human race, we have a lot of similarities between all of us. So trying to focus on those similarities and can really help foster empathy. All right, and lastly, understand how you feel. So learning to foster empathy and engaging in empathetic conversations can lead to empathy burnout. Empathy burnout is common when individuals spend so much of their emotional strength relating deeply to the problems and stress of others that they forget to care for themselves. And this is according to Mental Health America. So you hear about a lot of empathy burnout, maybe in like social work type of work or nursing or caregiving. However, it can relate to everyone. So make sure that you're understanding how you feel after maybe a super empathetic conversation and take time for yourself. So you can do this by taking inventory on how you feel personally. So maybe that would be journaling after a type of empathetic conversation, talking with somebody else who maybe wasn't in that situation and just talking through what happened, what they're saying. Of course, if it's something that the empathetic conversation is talked about that's personal information and, maybe not revealing everything to somebody else if it's kind of confidential. But also, it could be self-reflection and alone time, just taking time for yourself to recharge. Also, engaging in self-care techniques is important, and that goes even beyond, maybe like taking a bubble bath or something like that, which brings me to my next point here of I do have a self-care workshop through Veterans Upward Bound. I'll make sure to link that workshop in the email of this workshop so you can take a look at it. So I have a lot of great points in the self-care workshop that are more than just, taking care of your physical body. It's also taking care of your spiritual and emotional and physical body as well. So I'll make sure to include that in the email of this workshop. I'll also have a guide that you can download about empathy and how to foster empathy. There's some more ideas and points to take a look at. It's set up as a educational guide for like a classroom. However, I found that it's really great for anyone as we are all students. So thank you. Appreciate your time today. Hope you learned a little bit more about empathy and maybe some tips that you can take away from today's presentation. If you have any questions or concerns or want to talk to us at Veterans Upward Bound, please feel free to email us, give us a call, or check out our website. Thank you.